Hello everyone, this is Venkatesh, your host for the podcast Leading Self and Others. Today we have a special guest who is an workshop facilitator for mental health awareness in personal and professional life, executive coach for leadership development and integral life coach. Also who have done a master's in psychology. Let us welcome Miss Shraddha Sengaonkar. Yes, Miss Shraddha, I'm so happy to have you in this podcast, and I wholeheartedly welcome you. And I'm first of all grateful for your time and effort to take to reach this episode.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure, Venkatesh, to be here, and I am honored to be sharing whatever insights I have about the podcast that we are going to have.
Thank you. So, what is your story, Miss Shraddha? How did you brought up, and what were your challenges you faced in your career, and how did you come here? In a brief, please.
I think I had a pretty normal childhood. I was brought up in a household which was very dedicated towards civil services, and so I have a background of my dad being in the police and my relatives being in the army, and then there's me, the black sheep, who decided to just go the different way. So I'm a law graduate, and in my last year of law graduation, something did not click right within me. So I wanted to dedicate my time towards helping people, and not only in providing a service, but helping them grow and develop as human beings. That's the variation that I saw from the environment that I was brought up in. And then when you're put into the real world, that's when you realize the difference in the people that you meet and in their mindset. So that encouraged me to take up human resources, but I dug deeper and I decided to go for psychology with a specialization in human resource development management, which is when I realized how drawn I was towards what really makes people feel belonged, feel loved, feel valued, be seen for who they are, and most importantly, be felt for who they are, which is when I started taking extensive trainings into coaching other people. So this was part of a lot of my learning. But my transformation journey is quite different from my intellectual journey, which was realizing that I'm not a cutthroat, competitive person. And as much as I was trying to be that, it did not make me feel good about myself in a positive way. So for example, if I did better than my friend, I felt powerful because I thought that person is not as good as me. Wherein that feeling was not healthy. You know, when you feel like this is not nourishing me or this is not enriching me, and I started seeing how that affected me. I started seeing how I have pushed people away. I started seeing how my reactions were becoming more about trying to get something in return than responses or trying to be there for that person or just present for that person. And then it was a very conscious decision to become the person in the listening seat and the person in the talking seat. Became a conscious decision to keep my mouth shut at times and listen, see where they're coming from. And then the most difficult journey of our lifetime, which is straying away from judgments, really understanding your purpose. So that's still a journey in progress.
Great.
So this is a little bit about me and my journey of where I am today.
Great. So I could see that your work is around on the areas of people-centric. Okay.
Yes.
So it's all about people, and be it is leadership or be it is about personal development, or whatever you are trying to become expertise and you are utilizing your expertise already. It's all about people centric. And one of the key thing that I would like to stress more on about is capacity. Okay. So when we say capacity, sometimes it appears to be so professional. Is it something that limited to professional development, or it's also applicable to life in general? So what is capacity to be first?
So, as you said, Venkatesh, you're absolutely right. It's people centric, my work, but that is also because everything in our life is people centric. You look at any sector, you look at any industry, you will not find a devoid of people. And yet, the world now is moving more and more towards removing the human element, which is really baffling as to why would you want to take away something that makes you a human, which are our emotions. Then moving on to what you asked me about capacity. Firstly, capacity is not exclusively in a professional setting or a personal setting. And this idea that we have that a person is different in his personal life and a person is different in his professional life and he's going to be able to keep these two personalities extremely separate is taxing and exhausting, because imagine how much work you have to put in your personal life to be a different person, and then a different amount of effort to be something else in your professional life. So this notion of these identities being separate is really baffling for me. But then when I talk about integration, and then when I talk about bringing your whole self to life, it is in your personal life and in your professional life. And that is what capacity is about. Capacity is how much holding is there in a person to absorb more, to grow more, to develop more. In very technological terms and in very technical terms, yes, this is the usage that we say, that this person can do this much, this app can do this much. Or technical would be, this is the job role and this person has to do this much. So he has the capacity. That is how we define very technically and technology. But capacity is fluid. Capacity is something that can expand. Capacity is something that can shrink. So it is something that you can play with, you can dance with. So when you talk about capacity, it is potential that we are actually talking about. And you cannot map potential in a way to predict. You cannot say that this person will never grow into this thing, or this person will never grow into that. That is something we cannot ever predict about potential, because it's dynamic. So capacity, like how everyone believes, is something very defined. No, capacity is always fluid, always wanting to expand, wanting to take its own way. And so that is what it is in a person also. The ability of how much you can learn, absorb, and implement your learnings is what capacity is.
So it is something like nature. You cannot box in.
Yes.
Its particles has to leverage.
And it happens without us knowing. Very often it's just how much attention do we pay to how our capacities are flowing to the external and the outer world, into our professions and into our personal lives.
Great.
Yes.
So each and every individual have different aspects in their life, like personal, professional, and society, community. They have their own other areas. So we are all playing different roles. We are not stick to one specific role throughout our lifetime. In the morning, we start at home, we play as a family man, and then once we get into the workplace, we become an employee. Our role gets different. Okay. So having said that, how come it becomes so important in all areas of life? We have already said it is not limited to only professional setting, nor only personal setting. It is going to be applicable for anywhere and everywhere. But how does it feel important to you to build one's capacity?
Overall, and generally just expand our capacities. Very important. In fact, that's what my work is, to let people get aware that any kind of shift or any kind of change is seen only when you are able to grow, learn, see something else, get accustomed to a different perspective, understand a different perspective, and more importantly, build a space for everyone to have different perspectives, right? So you're building your capacities in a way to make this a more inclusive space, to make the world a better community, wherein people are actually able to bring in their true selves and bring in how they actually are as people. They are able to really show that to the world. Why is it important? Because how else will we grow? How else will we evolve as human beings? How else do we see that how we become able-minded, how we become harmonious? Because otherwise, you're stuck. If you do not see that how your capacity can expand, you're going to feel stuck in the same experiences, and you're never going to know how I can feel this differently or how I can experience this challenge differently. Let me give a very simple example of capacity. A therapist or a coach who starts off right in the beginning might not be able to sit through an hour long of the session listening to someone else. But after, let's say, 20 hours of work, he develops the capacity to sit in a chair, be present, be attentive. How did that happen? It's not that the child or that person was made to sit in that chair. Someone screamed at that person. No. The person developed awareness around it. The person understood the purpose of the activity, understood the purpose of their act. Once that aligned with what they think is right, what they think is good, they were able to accept that and build their capacity and expand their capacity. So why is it important? Just to finish your own strengths, just to see where else your strengths lies. It's important for us to explore our capacities. And like they say, development is not a hurdle race, or like, when you jump over one hurdle and you say, oh, now I've crossed this milestone, I've acquired this skill. No, development is always like a pendulum. Sometimes you feel you've grown and sometimes you feel you've not made any progress. But how do you know you've grown? When you feel low, you're able to bring yourself back. You're able to reflect on what is actually happening, and it's not like a thing that is going on in your head. You're able to differentiate your thoughts, and that is how development happens. That is how then you add on to your capacity building. And that is why it's important in each aspect of our life to keep that open space for that capacity expansion.
Great. From what you have said is two terms I would like to reiterate is one is the awareness and another one is the reflection. Okay, self-reflection. So, which leads to my next question actually. Okay. There is always going to be another level, next level, right? So, we are not stagnant. Yes, we can choose to be stagnant. We can have our status quo, but there is always going to be a next level. We have to catch up with that. To go to the next level, we must be aware of where we are right now. Right? So we should be aware of our own level. So how do I identify my current potential to reach to my desired level of potential? I may have an imagination or expectation on myself, but how do I jump from this place to that place before not knowing where I am currently? How do I know that this is my current level of potential?
Right. So, like I said, when I talk about capacity, I talk about it in a more integrative way. So I often see as to where or how is it that I want to be in life. And that is how I judge my current standing. For example, if I say, I want to get better at being present with people, that is being attentive when I'm in a conversation. And then today when I map myself, I'm not even able to be in a conversation for more than 3 minutes without my attention getting distracted. How do you understand this? Is one, you are honest to yourself about what is actually happening with you. Second, understanding where is it happening in your life. Is it professional? Is it with particular kind of people? Or is it your general way of being? Every time deciding to have a fantasy someone or having a desired personality is, you have to evaluate also if that is originating from yourself or is it because you desire that because of everyone else. Okay. So once that has happened, you then map through your current surroundings and not your fantasy and futuristic surroundings. So in my current surroundings, how do I interact? In my current surroundings, where is it that I'm getting a feedback? In my current surrounding, where is it that I'm getting criticized? In my current surrounding, where is it I'm getting appreciated? And beyond this, how do I feel about these appreciations and how do I feel about these feedbacks or criticism? Once you're able to understand your own liking, disliking, comfort, discomfort, you're able to understand your own current potential, your own current standing. And then you map it to where you want to be. It becomes clearer as to which zone or which area you want to work in. For example, I say now I want to become a great HR general manager. And you say that to become a great HR general manager, you have to be really good at communication, you have to be really good at strategizing, you have to be good at interpersonal relationships, conflict management, team orientation, all of these things come into play. Then you see, okay, right now I'm not very good at team orientation. Right now I'm not having good interpersonal relationship with 3 of my team members. You automatically start seeing, oh, these are my zones where I have to grow in. Sometimes it can be difficult to identify your own loopholes in your own capacity, which is why it's always advisable to seek help of professionals. Like there's coaching, there is counseling, there is career counseling, clinical counselors, psychiatrists. These are people meant to help you. These are people who are trained in this to do this, just like a doctor. They will help you with this process. So how you trust a doctor to give you a good diagnosis and help you with it, similarly, these mental health professionals help you understand your own capacity and then move on from it to a better, I wouldn't say a better capacity, I would just do a better place where you are more in touch with what you want and what you want to grow into. Yes, so that is what I would say. Yes.
So, openness to accept one's reality is the first step towards the knowing the current level and pushing towards to the next level, right?
Yes. Because otherwise, if you're not honest enough and open enough to accept, then you're never going to recognize. If you don't recognize, you're not going to acknowledge. If you don't acknowledge, then how will you ever move towards making a change? Because that doesn't even exist for you. Like you're going to be like, nay, I am a brilliant talker and I'm a brilliant HR manager. If you don't ever see something to grow into, see a potential, a possibility, then otherwise you're never going to take that step or that leap,
Even when we don't realize it, life has its own funny way to make us realize it in future. That would be more harsher.
And it's surprising that even though life has given us cues, we do not recognize it. We do not pay attention to it. And it's not only our surrounding, but also your own body is giving you cues. Your own body is telling you this is not feeling right. This does not. So trust the energies in your bodies. Trust the intuitions. We are made as whole beings when we were made. So in order to explore all of your own energies, because each one of them is communicating, understanding the communication patterns with your own body and surrounding and life is a very positive way of developing your awareness towards it.
Yes, it is quite common that people say, the coaches, the trainers, books say, be positive, do positive, think positive, feel positive. Obviously, a life do not work that way. Okay.
Absolutely.
What are they missing actually?
This is what I want to. I'm so glad you asked me this question. I hate it. This forced positivity which has been going on. It's like you are giving a pill, a happy pill to someone. The minute they start feeling a little, low or something. Why? When you are developing capacity, you're not developing capacity only to feel the good things. You're in fact developing capacity to absorb the challenges in your life, to absorb the low feelings, the bad feelings. That is how you will know how to enjoy it with carrying these parts as well. If you keep pushing it away and be like, no, only think about positive, later on when it comes up in your life in different variations, you will not know how to deal with it. You'll not know how to actually cope with these feelings because you're pushing it away. So what I would rather recommend, or what I would rather invite people to do, is try to be with your feelings. Try to stay with your emotions rather than categorizing them and pushing them away. So even if someday you're feeling that you're not good enough, try exploring the feeling of why you're not feeling good enough about yourself. And then, trust me, when you go into the sources of your feelings and the sources of your thoughts, is when you are developing a reflection. Okay. And from your reflection is where you develop an awareness that, no, I have been thinking this about myself only because I got rejected from, let's say, one interview. Only because I got rejected from one client. You see how you have yourself made these standards which you want to rely on for validation. You want to rely on feeling good. But when you redefine your standards, when you explore your own standards, is when you're able to realize that, oh, actually, I don't even like this standard anymore. Maybe there's a different standard for me, and the different standard is today I led my day beautifully, and that was a good enough thing for me. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your valuable insights and your
Thank
time.
you so much.
And once again, I thank you for joining me.
Yes, thank you so much. This was lovely, and I hope I get to have more conversations with you.
Definitely.
Last but never the end, buckle up to get inspired and more realistic thoughts from Venkatesh. Make sure to subscribe now, just so you don't miss any episode. If you think this podcast has inspired you and may help someone you care, please share. Leading self and others.